Hey guys, Gregory Bennett here. Thank you guys for being here. I'm excited to bring you this mastermind on the MAO Formula. You guys should have received a handout. Um, if not, we can get the handout to you guys. I see Orlethea's here, Keith's here, Karen and Ralph is here. If you guys have any questions, just go ahead and put it in the comment section. I'm going to be giving you guys some more information that's on this handout. And so I will be going by the handout, but make sure you have a pen next to you. There's some shortcut formulas that I'm going to be providing for you guys that you will need to write down. Also, in the end, I'm going to be giving some samples, some calculations, some case studies that you guys are going to need to write down. And so try to get a pen and so that you can write those things down. I'll get started now. This shouldn't last long, probably maybe 30 minutes. And so let's get going. All right. Oh, before we get going, I took a look at some of the properties that we'll be looking at on Saturday. So I'm excited to show you. There will be one or two opportunities for you guys to purchase. We will start at one of our coaching students' properties just to let him give you just sort of a case study on how he bought the property. So we'll start there. And then we've got a couple other properties to show you. So let's get going. Hey, Tamika. All right. So MAO formula, you guys have heard about the MAO. I'm going to drill it into your head tonight. MAO. What does MAO stand for? MAO stands for your maximum allowable offer. Maximum allowable offer. As an investor, there's a method to our madness. There's different formulas that we use to guarantee our success. And so MAO is one of the formulas that we use to guarantee our success, because the number one mistake that investors make, write this down, number one mistake that investors make is buying the properties wrong. Most investors buy them wrong. They buy them too high. The formula, if we stick by the formula, it's going to keep us from making that mistake. And so I'm old school. Every property that I buy, the first thing I take a look at is the formula to make sure that the numbers work. We like to say that we make our money when we buy the property right. That's really when we make our money, buying a property right. We leave from the settlement table, and if we bought it right, we've got a big smile on our face. And so we want to buy it right. We want to stick to various formulas. And so the maximum allowable offer is what MAO is. It's the maximum allowable offer that you're going to make on a property. Whether you're a wholesaler, whether you're fixing and flipping the property, or whether you're buying and holding residential property, we go to the formula and we stick to the formula. The formula is, for a wholesaler, it's 65% of the after repair value minus repair costs. So 65% of the ARV minus repair costs. ARV is after repair value, what the house will sell for once it's completely once it's completely renovated. And so what can you sell it for after it's been renovated? That's your ARV. And so MAO for wholesalers is 65% of the after repair value minus repair costs. MAO for someone who's fixing and flipping or buying and holding is 70%. And so 70% of the ARV minus repair cost is our maximum allowable offer. If we're dealing with auction properties, I like to lower it to about, because it's risky. You're not going to be able to have like an inspection. Sometimes you can't even see the inside of the property. And so we lower that to minimize our risk on an auction property to 60%. So 60% of the ARV minus repair cost is our maximum allowable offer. So let me give you guys a quick example. Write this down. Let's say that we've got an ARV of 300,000 So once this house is renovated, it's 300,000. It'll sell for 300,000. And let's say that the repair cost is 60,000. I ran my comps. I see that ARV is 30,000. I took a contractor to the property. Repair cost is about 60,000. So as a wholesaler, I'm going to take 65% of the 300,000. I'm going to get 195,000 minus the $60,000 in repair costs. I'm going to get 135,000. 135,000 is the maximum that you're going to allow yourself to offer that motivated seller. That's the maximum. Now, let's say that you offered that to the seller, 135. They accepted it through some negotiation. You're going to go under contract with them as a wholesaler. You're going to fill out the purchase and sales agreement, and the contract price is going to be 135. And so now you've got them locked in at 135 with a contract. Now you're going to wholesale that or assign it to a cash buyer. You're going to need to know, what are your numbers? What will they buy it for, and how much money you're going to make? And so it's 70%. So you're going to do this for yourself. You're going to take 300,000 and you're going to multiply that by 70. And that's going to give you 210,000 minus the $60,000 in repair costs. That gives you 150,000. So the 150,000 is the maximum allowable offer that a cash buyer will accept this property. The difference being 15,000. The difference is 15,000. That's your wholesale fee. Now, if you get a cash buyer to purchase this property at 150,000, they're going to sign an assignment agreement. On that assignment agreement, it's going to say they're going to take over the purchase contract that you just signed with the seller. They're going to take that over, and the purchase on the purchase contract, it says that you're buying a property for 135,000. So that goes on the assignment agreement, that they're going to be assigned a contract that they're going to have to buy the property for 135. But it's also going to say that they also owe you an assignment fee, a wholesale fee of 15,000. All that's going to be on the assignment agreement. And that's basically wholesaling. That's basically, how a cash buyer buys the property. Now, 5%, write this down. This is not in the handout. 5% of the after repair value, we're just taking a shortcut here. 5% of the after repair value is generally speaking what your wholesale fee should be. Generally speaking, 5%. And so that's why. So the difference between the 135 for the wholesaler and 150 for the cash buyer, the difference is 15,000. Or you could just take a shortcut and say, my wholesale fee should be about 5% of the after repair value. 5 of the after repair value. 5% of 300,000 is 15,000. And so in that case, your wholesale fee is 15,000. Now, as a cash buyer, you're thinking, as a cash buyer, what should my profit be? Write this down. Our profit is generally about 20% for a cash. So a cash buyer that's flipping a property, they're going to flip the property. Profit should be about 20%. So in this case, if 20% of ARV. And so if ARV is 300,000, in this case, we take 20% of that, that's $60,000. So the profit for the cash buyer, the profit for the cash buyer should be somewhere around $60,000. One other shortcut, you guys, before we move on. One other shortcut before we move on. And honestly, this is how I do it. And so you've got to perfect what I just taught you. You've got to perfect it. But then once you perfect it, a shortcut could be, and this is what I do, for the cash buyer, if I'm a cash buyer and someone's offering me a property I'm first going to get the after repair value. And so let's say I do my numbers, I run my comps, cash the after repair value is 300,000. All I simply do is I divide that number in half, or I divide the 300,000 into two. I divide it by two. Um, if I just want to take a shortcut, and if I divide 300,000 by two, I get 150,000. The, the same number as if I went through the formula at 70% of 300,000 is 210 minus $60,000 in repair costs gives us 150,000. So that's a shortcut. That shortcut doesn't always work, but in most cases it does. Or at the very least, gives you an idea what you should be buying the property for. One other shortcut. Last shortcut. Repair costs. How do you calculate repair costs? Well, you calculate repair costs by either having a contractor go with you to the property, a handyman, a mentor, or the cash buyer. And they will tell you, cash buyer will tell you what they're going to buy the property for, and what the repair cost is. Contractor will as well. Mentor will. Let's say that you have an appointment tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Nobody is available to go with you. Nobody is around. And so what you do is, as another shortcut, you take the $300,000 after repair value, you multiply that by 20%. So you're going to take 20% of the 300,000 and you're going to get $60,000. If I'm a cash buyer, I generally speaking don't want to pay more. I don't want to spend more than 20% of the after repair value for rehab on a property. Now, this doesn't work in Baltimore. Baltimore is a different animal, but almost anywhere else, 20% of the after repair value is going to be your repair costs. 20% of the after repair value is going to be your repair costs. Any questions, you guys, so far? Any questions so far? Let me minimize this real quick. Okay, a couple questions. Let's see. Ralph has got a question. What is the best source to secure an accurate ARV? The best source is the multiple listing service, the MLS, which means that you've got to be in contact with a real estate agent, Ralph, or, and Karen will tell you this, PropStream. If you get PropStream, so you don't have to be an agent to get PropStream, they give you very accurate ARVs. They pull from the MLS, the multiple listing service. They pull from the MLS. And so that's where you get your after repair value from the MLS. You can get it from an agent, or you can use PropStream. Ralph has another question. Is there a dollar amount per square foot that is typically utilized as well? I don't use that. In some other areas of the country, they do use that. I don't use that. When rehabbing, generally speaking, I want to pay, my preference would be to pay about $100 to $125 a square foot, depending on the area. I say depending on the areas because the finishes will be different depending on the area. So that's why I use the MAO instead of amount per square foot. Jade has a question. Is there a rehab cost shortcut for Baltimore? That's a good question. Baltimore is like I said, is a different animal. Sometimes the repair cost is more than what you're even buying a property for. To be on the safe side, Jade, I would just use our regular formula. I generally speaking, I buy in Baltimore between 50 and 60% of the after repair value. And I do it because in Baltimore, you get very little appreciation. And so I want to make sure that when I buy in Baltimore, I buy with a lot of equity in the property, because over the years, I'm not going to capture. I'm going to get great cash flow. I'll make, 600, $700, $800 a month in positive cash flow. But I'm only going to appreciate less than 5% a year. And so I buy my ARV, my MAO is about somewhere between 50 and 60%, 60% max in Baltimore. And so hopefully that answers your question. All right, let's move on here. Let's see. And so when estimating repair costs, let me take Jade off of here. And so when estimating repair cost, like I said, you want to get a contractor to go there with you. On here, it does say that you can prop stream. You can use prop stream or real eFlow. They have an estimator that you can use. I've used those before. You can get a general contractor. If you are a wholesaler, I would just simply use the numbers that my cash buyer. If you're a wholesaler, you want to do what's called reverse wholesaling. Reverse wholesaling is you want to get the cash buyer before you even make an offer on the property, versus making an offer on a property and then try to market that property as a wholesale deal. You want to reverse engineer that so you minimize the risk of putting the property on the market, putting the property under contract, and looking for a cash buyer. And so you want to get the cash buyer first. And so that's one of the things that I would do. So you don't really have to worry about estimating repair costs. I looked at a number of properties today, actually. And so what I looked at was on the exterior, I looked at the exterior foundation first. Then I looked at the roof. And in this case, the roof did needed a new roof. Windows, I looked at the siding. This particular property actually had brick. It needed exterior painting. And so I looked at those things. And we have in your handout here, we have in your handout, and we'll give it to you again on Saturday. We have a repair estimate sheet that you can use when you're estimating repairs. On the inside, I wanted to see if the house had central. It looked like on the inside central heat. I couldn't tell if it had central air. When I looked in the basement, I did see that it did have central air, and then on the outside, I saw the condenser. I look at flooring on the inside. I look at walls. In this case, it had plaster walls. Those that are going to come on Saturday will see this property. It had plaster walls. And so I generally just put a thin layer of drywall on there. Of course, it needed painting. The kitchen needed to be gutted. The bathroom needed to be gutted. I would finish the basement. The basement is unfinished. And so in this particular property, I would finish the basement. The plumbing for the bathroom was already there. And they had windows all around. So it's easy to make a bedroom. You just have to cut in a window. One of the windows, you just got to bring it down. So it'd be an egress window. And so the estimate of all that for me, probably somewhere around $60,000 or $70,000. I can just walk into a house and just determine what the repair cost is going to be. You would use a repair estimator or this form right here that we actually put in your handout. You would use that, or you would use let a contractor tell you. But you've got to know for yourself. If a contractor is charging you $700 a window, you can look on here, and this is going to say should be charging you $300 or $400 per window, that kind of thing. And how much for the roof? This house needed a new roof. They charge you $10,000 for a roof of a house that's 1,800 square feet. This cheat sheet right here will tell you that that's too much. And so we want to go by all of these things to determine what the real repair cost is. I got a question, I think last week, or maybe it was this week. Do we actually pay a contractor to actually come out to the property to give us an estimate? And the answer is no. I mean, if you're looking at a property to truly buy, you do want to choose a contractor, but they've got to know if it's a property that you're going to buy, you're going to possibly use them as a contractor. You don't want to bring a contractor out there. I wouldn't bring a contractor out if I'm wholesaling. I wouldn't do that. If I'm a wholesaler, I primarily want to bring a cash buyer, let a cash buyer that I know and trust to come out and give me the true estimate, reverse wholesaling. Because as a wholesaler, you know that you're not going to use that contractor. So I wouldn't bring them out. I would either bring out a cash buyer, or I would use PropStream or Real eFlow for the estimator, or I would use the 20% rule to put into my numbers to be able to give that cash buyer, that motivated seller, an offer. And so we've kind of already looked at what the repair cost is. I kind of went over that. I don't think there's anything else. Factor in, and so when you're rehabbing, you do want to factor in the permits, the demo, the staging. If you're a rehabber, we generally do it in draws, and so I generally set up 3 draws when I'm rehabbing. If you're a flipper, you want to flip properties, and so generally in the first draw, we're going to put in things like permits. You got to pay for your permits. You've got to pay for changing the locks, demo. I will put in like the rough plumbing, what we call the rough electrical. I'll go over all these things on Saturday. And so all those kind of things go into the first draw. Second draw, I generally leave the paint for the last draw. So second draw, if I've got to put up drywall, I'll do that. All the trim, like the doors, the baseboards, shoe molding, crown molding, if I'm putting all those things in, all that goes into the second draw. All the things like that. The furnace, if there's any concrete work, windows, roof, I generally like to put those in the second draw. Although if the roof is leaking, of course, I'll put that in the first draw. We can't work inside of a house if the roof is leaking, but if it's not leaking and still needs a new roof, I'll put that in the second draw. Things like concrete and stuff like that. And then the last draw is all your finishes. Your finished recessed lighting. You put the electrical in the first draw, but then the finish will go in the last draw. Recessed lighting, all your plumbing fixtures, your toilets, your vanities, all your kitchen appliances, all those things. Second draw is your flooring, and then I may put a coat of paint in the second draw, and then a second or third coat of paint in the last draw. I want all of my trades, or all of my contractors out of the property, and then I'll put on my last coat of paint. You put the last coat of paint in the second draw, you've got contractors in and out of the property. They're messing up your walls, and so I like to use that for last. And so that's generally how I rehab a property. Let's skip over. You've got to know your numbers. Let's skip over here. To determine your ARV, you develop a relationship with a realtor, like I said. Sometimes you can use Zillow. I do use Zillow sometimes for my ARV. I'll use the Zestimate. Now, the Zestimate is an average of the properties, like-kind properties that have sold in the area. I'll use the highest end of the Zestimate sometimes if I'm having a hard time finding comps, or I just need comps really fast and I don't feel like logging on to the MLS. I'll just go to Zillow and I'll use the highest end of the Zestimate, or the highest, really the highest comp. So let's say the Zestimate is 150,000, but the way they got the Zestimate was they used some properties that were 100,000, but then also some properties that were 250,000 to come up with the Zestimate. The Zestimate is like the median number, and so the 250 for me would be my after repair value. All right. And so sometimes I use that. How will you learn to calculate repair cost? As I said before, I use the 20% rule, or I'll get a contractor, mentor, cash buyer to give me the repair costs. As a repeat, what are the formulas to determine the MAO? As a wholesaler, it's 65%. As a cash buyer, 70%. Auction property is 60%. So for practice, write this down, or you guys should have this handout. We've got an ARV of 100,000. We've got an estimate repair cost of 10,000. What is the maximum allowable offer the wholesaler can extend to the motivated seller? You guys do that and put in the comment section. Do this. You guys have a ARV of 100,000. You've got a repair cost of 10,000. What's the maximum allowable offer? Somebody put it in the comment section for me. Put it in the comment section for me. Let's see. Ralph is 45. Let me see. We've got some numbers here. Let's see. You guys need some more time? Let me do my calculation. All right, let's see who's right and let's see who's wrong. All right, looks like Dwayne, Jade, Karen, and Erlethea is right. It's 55,000. It's 55,000. What's the price the cash buyer should pay for this property? What's the price the cash buyer should pay for this property? Somebody tell me. What's the price the cash buyer should pay for this property? All right, I'll give you guys a few more minutes. What's the price the cash buyer should pay for this property? Looks like we got two right answers. Okay. Cash buyer should pay $60,000. We're going to take 70% of the $100,000. That gives us $70,000 minus $10,000 repair costs gives us $60,000. $60,000. All right. What's the wholesale fee? What should the wholesale fee be? What should the wholesale fee be on this? What's the wholesale fee? What's the wholesale fee? You can do it the long way or the shortcut way. What's the wholesale fee? Somebody tell me the wholesale fee. Wholesale fee is 5%, generally 5% of the after repair value. After repair value. In this case, it's $5,000. In this case, it's $5,000. Let's say that the cash buyer is actually flipping this property. Cash buyer is flipping this property. What do you think the cash buyer's profit is going to be when they flip this property? What's the cash buyer's profit? What's the cash buyer's profit when they flip this property? Somebody tell me, what's the cash buyer's profit? Let's see who took notes. Let's see who took notes. Oh, Dwayne is a little, Dwayne is a little Ivy Leaguer, isn't he, Keith? So cash buyer, there we go. There we go, Alethea. 20%. Profit should be somewhere around 20% of the after repair value, you guys. 20% of the after repair value. All right, let me give you guys a hard one. Write this down. Write this down. Let's say that we've got an after repair value of 400,000. We have an ARV. We have an ARV of 400,000. This is going to take a minute. We've got an after repair value of 400,000. Tell me what the maximum allowable offer is for the wholesaler. What's the maximum allowable offer for the wholesaler? We've got an ARV. Well, let me rephrase it to make it easier for you guys. What's the maximum allowable offer for the cash buyer? ARV is 400. What's the maximum allowable offer for the cash buyer? Somebody tell me. Maximum allowable offer for the cash buyer. We have an ARV of 400,000. I do see one right answer. I see one right answer. Okay, look, guys. So the right answer is oh, we got two right answers. Karen and Ralph have the right answer. If we don't know what if we don't know what the rehab cost is, write this down, you guys. If we don't know what the rehab cost is, if we can't get a contractor to go out there, mentor, cash buyer, we're going to take 20% of the after repair value and use that as our rehab cost. So in this case, we've got an ARV of 400,000. If we take 20% of 400,000, we're going to get 80,000. You guys with me? We're going to get 80,000. And so 400, let's see. So if we take 400,000 for the cash buyer, is going to be 70% equals 280 minus the 80,000 in repair costs. That's going to give us 200,000. That's going to give us 200,000. Or a shortcut that I use, I just take 50%, or I divide the 400,000. I divide it by 2. In this case, you get the same number, 200,000. You get the same number, 200,000. You guys with me? All right, let's do this. Let's take the same 400,000. Let's take the same 400,000 and give me what should the wholesaler put this property under contract for? What should the wholesaler put this property under contract for? We've got an ARV of 400,000. ARV of 400,000. What should a wholesaler put this under contract for? The wholesaler should put this property under contract for $180,000. They're going to take 65% of the $400,000 minus the $80,000 in repair costs, and they're going to get $180,000. Somebody tell me, in this case, how much money what should the wholesaler make in this deal? What should the wholesaler make? How much will the wholesaler make? What's the wholesaler's profit? What's the wholesaler's profit, you guys? You guys should be able to do it without even using the calculator. All right, 2 ways to calculate it. You guys got 200,000 for the cash buyer. They're buying it for 200. The wholesaler is putting it under contract for 180,000. The difference is 20,000. Or you could just take 5% of the after repair value, and you get the same number, the 20%. Cash buyer. What should the profit be? What should approximately what should the profit be for the cash buyer in this case? What should the profit be for the cash buyer? What should it be in this case? What should the profit be? What's the estimate that the profit should be for the cash buyer? Oh, you guys are good. Look at that. Okay. I think you guys are getting a hang of it. Let me give you guys one more and we'll get you guys out of here. Let's do one more. Now in this case, write this down. I want you guys to give me 3 numbers, all divided by commas. The first number, I want you to give me what the wholesaler should put it under contract for, what the cash buyer should put it under contract for, and what the profit to the wholesaler. If the after repair value, you did your calculation, after repair value is $1 million. ARV is $1 million. We've got a property in Columbia Heights. We got a property in Columbia Heights. ARV is $1 million. What should a wholesaler put the property under contract for? What should the cash buyer buy that for? And what should the profit be? Give me 3 numbers divided by commas. $1 million is your ARV. Give me 3 numbers, all divided by commas. Wholesaler puts it under contract. What's their maximum allowable offer? What's the maximum allowable offer for the cash buyer? And what's the profit for the wholesaler? Give me 3 numbers divided by commas. Oh, look at Dwayne. Anybody else? What do we got? What do we got? Come on, Arlethea. I'm waiting on you. I'm waiting on you, Arlethea. All right. So I think you guys have this. And so for the wholesaler is going to take, let me just do it, 65% of a million. I think it was four. Let's see. We're going to put $1 million into our calculator. We're going to multiply that by 65%. We're going to get 650,000. Looks like Ralph got it too, and Dwayne. So let's do it real quick. We're going to take 65% of $1 million. We're going to get $650,000. We don't know what the repair cost is, so we're going to take 20% of $1 million. That gives us 200,000. So we're going to subtract that by 200,000, and we're going to get 450,000. That's what the wholesaler puts the property under contract for. The cash buyer is going to take $1 million. It's going to put $1 million in their calculator, and they're going to multiply that by 70%. They're going to get 700,000 minus the same repair costs of 200,000, which is probably right up there. Maybe a tad more now. And they're going to get 500,000. They're happy to buy it for 500. In this situation, the wholesaler is going to make $50,000. What should the cash buyer expect to make? You guys tell me. What should the cash buyer expect to make in a deal like this? What should a cash buyer expect to make? In a deal like this, cash buyers should make how much? Wow. Okay. Last one. This is really the last one. This is the last one. Okay. All right. You guys got this. All right. This is the last one. You guys are bidding on a property at Ashland Auctions. You win the bid, or you're bidding. Let's just say that you're bidding on the property and you're going to wholesale that property, and the after repair value is 200. ARV is $250,000. $250,000. Give me the wholesale fee. The wholesale. As a wholesaler, you're going to put that property under contract for what amount? Give me cash buyer. Give me the profit for the wholesaler. And to give me a fourth number, profit for the cash buyer. So give me four numbers this time. Wholesaler, what they're putting it under contract for, what the cash buyer is going to buy it for, the profit for the wholesaler, profit for the cash buyer. $250,000 is the ARV. Yes, Dwayne. ARV is 250,000. Something's wrong with your numbers, Jade. Look at your numbers one more time. All right. So let's go over this one. All right. So let's go over this one. This one is confusing. This one's confusing. Okay. So we're going to take 200. It's an auction property. We've got an ARV of 250,000. So we're going to take 250,000 times 60% because it's an auction property. We're going to take 60%. And we're going to get 150,000 minus 50,000. 50,000, 20% of 250,000 is 50,000. So minus 50,000 is going to give us 100,000. You're at the auction. You're not going to bid more than 100,000 on this property. You're not going to bid more than 100,000 on this property. So Karen did get that. Then you're going to bid 100. A cash buyer is still probably going to buy this property at 70%, or you're at least going to put it out there at 70%. And so we're going to take 250,000 times 70% minus the repair cost of 50,000, and we're going to get 125,000. I think Karen got that too. Now, Karen, I'm not sure. The wholesale fee is the difference between 100,000 and 125,000, which the wholesale fee should be 25,000. And I see where I think I see where. Let me see. Did you take 5% times 5%? All right. So let me say this, you guys. And this was a tricky one. That's why we saved it for last. Looks like Dwayne got it right, though. So this was a tricky one. And so the rule of thumb is we're going to take 5% of the after repair value as a rule of thumb to give us our wholesale fee. But if we can do better than that, then we'll take that. And so if we can get a property for 50% or 60%, 55% of ARV, if we can do that, then we're going to make more money. We're going to make more money. And so in this case, we're going to take the difference between the 5% rules out the window. We're going to take the difference between the $100,000 and for the wholesaler. They're going to put it on the contract. That's at 60%. We're still going to give it to the cash buyer, sell to the cash buyer at 70%, which is 125. The difference is 25,000. So Dwayne did get that. And then the cash buyer should be making 20% of the ARV, which is 50. So actually Dwayne did get that. And so Jade, even let me put this question up because it's a good question. If Jade is a cash buyer, so Jade, I would still want you to try to get it for as low as possible, 60%. I'm in my mind, I'm thinking Baltimore. And so in my mind, and that's why this question was kind of tricky. In my mind, if it's a property in Baltimore, even as a cash buyer, as sort of a rule, at least for myself, I want to try to get this property for a Baltimore property. You would want it as a cash buyer. You would probably want to get it for about 60%. As a wholesaler in Baltimore, you probably want to get it for about 55%. So this was like a trick question. If it's Prince George's County, if it's DC, then you still get it for the 60% and sell it at 70%. Baltimore, you want to get it for about 55% as a wholesaler, and then sell it for 60%. That was a trick. That was a trick question. But Karen and Dwayne, Karen was close. Dwayne actually got it right. No, not necessarily, Karen. So Karen is saying to clarify. Hopefully, I'm not confusing you guys. But Karen is saying to clarify, for auction properties, our wholesale fee will be 10% of ARV. And so, in theory, in theory, it could be 10%. In theory, in practice, to be honest with you guys, the way wholesaling works in practice, you guys need to know these numbers that I taught you tonight. And it is 5% because I don't want a cash buyer, trying to cheat you. But in practice, it's really a negotiation between you and the cash buyer. There's got to be like a kind of a high watermark on where you will, how much money you want to make, which should be the 5%. You should not be going lower than that. But in practice, it's a negotiation. And so we'll go over negotiation, or we've gone over negotiation a month or two ago. We'll go over it again. Everything is a negotiation. But yeah, I would look at on auction properties, if you're able to get it at 60%, and let's say it's not Baltimore, and you actually get into the property, or maybe you even saw the property before the auction, you was able to get it at the 60%. Yeah, just know that a cash buyer is always buying at 70%. Now, to further answer your question, Jade, if you're able to look at the property, and a lot of the auctions now, you're able to look inside the property. Sometimes right before the auction, most of Hubzoo's properties, you can get inside of them if there's nobody living in there. There's a lockbox. I looked at 2 or 3 properties today. They were all REOs, and so I got into all of them. And so in most cases, to be honest with you guys, you can look into the properties. If you are a buy and hold, if you're buying and holding, and this is something else I want you guys to write down. If you're buying and holding, no problem with buying with using 70%, even if it's a auction property, if you are able to look on the inside of the property and determine repair costs, things like that. Problem with the auction properties, even if you're able to look inside, generally speaking, the utilities are turned off. So you can't have a home inspection. And again, hopefully I'm not confusing you guys, but if you're buying and holding, there's really not a lot of mistakes you can make, because you can always make it up over time through appreciation if you're in the right areas. But if you're buying and holding, 70% is fine. If you're able to get on the inside, I always like to tell my students to buy them a little less, just to minimize any type of mistake. So as a rule, I always like to say 60%. But if you're buying it in an area that's really appreciating, and you can see the inside of the house, and you can determine what the real repair cost is before you bid on the property, then go ahead and you can use that 70%. All right, you guys. Any other questions? We went over a lot. You guys did a great job. I think there was a question before we started this. Let me see. Let's see. At any rate, Jade actually had a question. Do you have a contractor come up when first viewing the property or after you view the property and know you want the property? I think it's once you know that you want the property, that's when I would bring a contractor in there. But Jade, you're a serious investor, so I would you can definitely bring a contractor there the first time you look at it, because you're serious. You know that if the numbers work, you're going to buy that property or at least bid on the property. And so nothing wrong with you taking a contractor the first time. So look, you guys, to summarize everything, I want you guys to know your numbers, to know the formulas. Real estate investing is a wonderful strategy to build wealth. What I see is that novice investors get in the game. They don't know what they're doing. They lose money on their first or second deal, and then they stop investing. Most of your success is going to be on knowing these numbers and getting it right, getting advice from your coaches, from your mentors, getting that type of advice so that you don't make mistakes, so that you do continue to buy and have success, have fun with it, but at the same time, build generational wealth. For me, it's important because, I've got a family, I got my daughter. I want her to not have to worry about, for example, college. I've already gotten her through college, through real estate investing, wholesaling. Beverly, my daughter actually will be 25 tomorrow. I don't know if you know that, Keith. So Beverly will be 25 tomorrow. She already has her first property and will be buying another property this year. And so you guys can educate your children, other family members on how to invest in real estate. Here's a question. Is there any way that we can see any of your projects from beginning to end? Yes. Yeah, I can make that happen. Next time I buy a property. Absolutely. All right, you guys. Any other questions before we get out of here? Hopefully you guys can use these numbers, practice these numbers, practice different scenarios. A lot of you guys are going to auctions and bidding on properties. And so just know your numbers. I think that you guys know the numbers now. Look at this handout. Even I'm taking notes while I'm teaching you guys this stuff. So my handout is all written all over. But practice these formulas and just give yourself a good idea on what the numbers should be so that you're never, ever taken advantage of. You know your numbers. And I think you guys know your numbers. Like Dwayne said, hopefully this has been very helpful. Hopefully most of you guys will see on Saturday. It's always good to get out in the field. You guys can ask questions out in the field, learn from different properties, network with each other. So Saturday will be good. All right, you guys, take care. God bless. And we will talk to you guys soon. Good night.